You're gonna die!
You hear it before you see it. The bass line from the Cotton Club upstairs, bleeding through the floorboards like a heartbeat. Down here in the basement, there's no music, just the smell of damp concrete, gun oil, and sweat so thick you can taste the fear in it. 12 men, 12 barrels, all pointed at one chest. Bumpy Johnson stands in the center of that circle, hands loose at his sides, eyes moving slow across each face, like he's memorizing who's about to kill him. The single light bulb swings overhead, casting shadows that dance across Tommy guns and 45s. Nobody's breathing right. These aren't amateurs. This is Dutch Schultz's murder squad. Tommy, the executioner Mackenzie, stands front and center. The man who never misses, never leaves witnesses, never fails. And yet, Bumpy smiles. Not a big smile. Just the corner of his mouth twitching up like he knows the punchline to a joke nobody else has heard yet. 12, he says, voice calm as Sunday morning. Dutch really thinks 12 is enough. Tommy's finger tightens on the trigger. The room holds its breath. Every gangster in that basement knows what comes next. The roar of gunfire, the body dropping, the message sent. Dutch Schultz doesn't negotiate. Dutch Schultz doesn't lose. And Dutch Schultz just sent his best killers to erase the one man standing between him and total control of Harlem. But then Bumpy does something nobody expects. He doesn't reach for his gun. He reaches for the light. One punch, glass shattering. The bulb dies with a pop that sounds like a period at the end of a sentence. Total, complete, absolute darkness. 3 minutes of hell follow. You'd hear it upstairs if the band wasn't drowning it out. Gunshots cracking wild in every direction, men screaming, bodies hitting walls. The wet crunch of bone breaking against concrete. Somebody's firing at their own partner. Somebody else is begging. The smell of cordite mixing with blood and panic. When the emergency lights finally kick on, 11 bodies are on the ground. 11 of Dutch Schultz's best men, bleeding, broken, defeated. And Bumpy Johnson. He's leaning against the wall, breathing steady, not a scratch on him. At his feet, one man is still alive. Marty Ice-Pick Delaney, shaking so hard his teeth are chattering. Bumpy reaches into his jacket. Marty flinches, expecting the bullet. Instead, Bumpy pulls out a playing card. The Ace of Spades. He wipes it across a pool of blood on the floor, then drops it onto Marty's chest. You tell Dutch, Bumpy says, voice soft as velvet, sharp as a razor, that Harlem ain't for sale, and if he sends more men— He pauses, looks down at the carnage around them. Tell him to send more cards. I'm building a collection. That was February 14th, 1933, Valentine's Day. While the rest of New York was buying chocolates and roses, Harlem just watched one man dismantle an entire hit squad in the dark. But here's what nobody talks about. Here's the question that should keep you up at night, the same way it kept Dutch Schultz up for weeks after. How does one man beat 12 trained killers in a room with no exits? Would you have let the traitor walk out alive? Subscribe and stay with me to see the move that changed Harlem forever. Let's rewind the tape. Get you oriented. Harlem, 1933. The neighborhood's got a pulse you can't find anywhere else in America. Jazz spilling out of every doorway, numbers, runners on every corner, and enough illegal money changing hands to make Wall Street jealous. But it's not chaos. There's order, there's rules, and at the top of that pyramid sits a woman most people are too scared to even whisper about. Madame Stephanie St. Clair, Queenie to those who've earned the right. She's been running the numbers racket in Harlem for a decade, turned it into an empire worth millions. In a world run by men with guns, she built her throne with ledgers, loyalty, and an iron will that would make John D. Rockefeller look soft. And standing beside her, that's where Bumpy comes in. Ellsworth Raymond Bumpy Johnson, 26 years old, built like a heavyweight boxer, moves like a chess player. He grew up in these streets, not just in them, but of them. Every alley, every rooftop, every basement speakeasy. He knows who's loyal, who's hungry, who'll fold when pressure comes. Madame St. Clair spotted him when he was just a teenager with fast hands and faster instincts. She made him her enforcer, her strategist, her right hand. By 1933, Bumpy's got a reputation. He don't start fights, but he sure as hell finishes them. The neighborhood respects him because he respects them back. He ain't just muscle, he's protection. When Madame St. Clair runs numbers, she makes sure the winnings stay in Harlem. The cops get their cut to look the other way. The politicians get theirs to keep laws loose. And what's left? That money builds. Churches, keeps grocers open, sends kids to school. It's dirty money doing clean work, and everybody knows it. But up in the Bronx, there's a man who don't care about community, charity, or keeping things clean. Arthur Flegenheimer. You know him better as Dutch Schultz. If Harlem's got jazz in its veins, Dutch has got battery acid. This man's built his empire on beer during Prohibition, extortion in the Bronx, and a willingness to kill anyone who even thinks about saying no. He's got the Italian mob on speed dial, corrupt cops on payroll, and a temper so violent that his own men flip coins to see who has to deliver bad news. Now Dutch is looking south. He sees Harlem, sees the money flowing, sees a black woman running an operation that's pulling in 6 figures a year. And he don't ask, he demands. 3 weeks before Valentine's Day, Dutch sends his emissary to the Lenox Lounge, where Madame St. Clair holds court. Big guy, expensive suit, Brooklyn accent thick. Enough to cut with a knife. He sits down, orders a whiskey neat, and slides a briefcase across the table. Mr. Schultz is prepared to offer you a very generous partnership, the emissary says, all fake politeness. 70-30 split. You keep running the day-to-day. He handles protection. Madame St. Clair don't even open the briefcase. She just looks at Bumpy, standing silent in the corner, then back at the emissary. Tell Dutch Schultz, she says, each word precise as a knife. In gut, that Harlem's numbers belong to Harlem's people, and we don't need his kind of protection. The emissary's smile evaporates. You're making a mistake, lady. No, Bumpy says from the corner, his first words of the night. You are. The emissary leaves. The briefcase stays. Bumpy opens it after he's gone. 50,000 in cash. Blood money. A bribe wrapped in a threat. That night, Bumpy burns every bill in a trash can behind the Lenox Lounge. Watches the smoke rise up toward the Harlem moon. He knows what's coming. Dutch Schultz don't take no for an answer. Dutch Schultz makes examples. But what Dutch don't know, what he can't know, is that Bumpy Johnson ain't built like other men. Prison at 15, stabbed twice before 20. Survived the race riots of 1926 by reading the streets like sheet music. This man learned early that the biggest weapon ain't a gun, it's information and timing. And knowing your enemy better than he knows himself. 3 weeks, that's... All the time, Bumpy has to prepare for war with the most dangerous gangster in New York. Do you think money is enough to break a 5-year brotherhood? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Here's where it gets personal, where loyalty becomes currency, and every man's got his price, whether he admits it or not. 2 weeks before the Cotton Club, a cold February night, there's a man sitting in a Plymouth outside the Savoy Ballroom, watching couples swing dance through foggy windows. His name is Raymond Ray Washington. He's been Bumpy's right hand for 5 years. They ran together as kids, did their first job together, split every dollar down the middle. Ray's got a wife now, got a daughter, got dreams that cost more than numbers running pays. The Plymouth's passenger door opens, a white man slides in. Expensive cologne, tailored overcoat, cold smile. This is Vincent the Hammer Cole, Dutch Schultz's top enforcer, the man who once beat a rival to death with a lead pipe in front of 20 witnesses and walked away clean because every witness suddenly went blind. Raymond Washington, Vincent says, not asking. You're loyal to Bumpy Johnson. I respect that. Loyalty's rare these days. Ray don't answer, just keeps his hands on the wheel, eyes forward. Vincent lights a cigarette, offers one. Ray refuses. Here's the thing about loyalty, Vincent continues, smoke curling in the cold air. It's expensive. And Dutch Schultz? He pays. Better. He drops an envelope on Ray Ray's lap. It lands heavy. Ray Ray feels the weight. Don't need to count it to know it's more than he's seen in a year. Maybe two. $10,000, Vincent says. Cash. Tonight. Just for information. Ray Ray's jaw tightens. Information. Where Bumpy's gonna be next week. What routes he takes. Who's with him. Vincent takes a drag. Exhales slow. That's it. You don't pull the trigger. You don't get your hands dirty. You just tell us. Where to look. Then you take that money, move your family somewhere nice. Brooklyn maybe, Queens. Somewhere your daughter don't got to grow up in a war zone. Ray Ray's hands are shaking on the wheel now. Not from fear. From something worse. Temptation. Because here's the brutal truth nobody wants to admit. $10,000 in 1933 is generational wealth. It's a house. It's security. It's his daughter going to college instead of working as a maid. And all he's got to do is tell Dutch Schultz that Bumpy's going to be at the Cotton Club on Valentine's Day for a meeting with the owners. That's it. One betrayal. One piece of information. And everything changes. Vincent leans back, gives him space. I'm not asking you to hurt anybody. I'm just asking you to be smart. Bumpy's going down whether you help or not. Dutch always wins. You know this. So why die for a losing team? The envelope sits there in Ray Ray's lap, like it weighs 100 pounds. He can smell the money through the paper. Crisp, new bills. Still got that mint scent from the Bureau of Engraving. He thinks about his daughter's shoes with holes in them, his wife's cough that won't go away because they can't afford a real doctor, the roof that leaks every time it rains. I need to think, Ray Ray says, voice barely a whisper. Vincent smiles. Sure. Take your time. You got until tomorrow night. He opens the door, cold air rushing in. But Ray Ray, think about who's really looking. Out for you? Bumpy Johnson's got ideals. Dutch Schultz has got money, and in this world, he steps out, looks back. Money wins. The door slams. The Plymouth drives away. Ray Ray sits there for an hour, envelope still in his lap, watching people dance inside the Savoy, like the world ain't burning down outside. Next night, he makes the call, tells Vincent about the Cotton Club meeting, gives him the time, the location, the fact that Bumpy's going to be alone in the basement going over the books with the owner. It takes 3 minutes to sell out 5 years of brotherhood. Vincent mails the money the next day, $10,000 in small bills. Ray Ray picks it up from the drop location, holds it in his hands, and it don't feel like victory, it feels like ash. But here's what Ray Ray don't know, what Vincent don't know, what even Dutch Schultz, sitting in his Bronx fortress counting his victories before they happen, don't know. Bumpy Johnson's been playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. See, Bumpy's got a rule. One rule that's kept him alive in a business where most men don't make it past 30. Trust nobody completely. Love everybody cautiously. And always, always watch for the knife before it comes out. 2 days before Valentine's Day, one of Bumpy's street kids, a 10-year-old named Marcus who shines shoes outside the Lenox Lounge, mentions something strange. Says he saw Ray Ray talking to some white guy in a fancy car. Says Ray Ray looked scared. Says the white guy gave him something that Ray Ray hid inside his jacket real quick. Most men would ignore it. Kids see things wrong all the time. But Bumpy Johnson ain't most men. He puts watchers on Ray Ray. Within 12 hours, he knows about the Plymouth, the envelope, the phone call, everything. And instead of rage, Bumpy feels something colder. Sadness, maybe. Disappointment. But mostly, opportunity. Because if Ray Ray's feeding information to Dutch, then Dutch thinks he knows where Bumpy's gonna be. Thinks he's got the advantage. Thinks he's outsmarted the King of Harlem. And that's exactly where Bumpy wants him. Who do you think is the real villain in this war for power? The gangster protecting his community or the empire trying to take it? Drop your answer below. Let me take you inside the mind of a legend, because what happens next ain't luck. It ain't violence. It's pure calculated genius. Valentine's Day, 1933, 10 a.m., 26 hours before the Cotton Club meeting. Bumpy's sitting in the back room of a barber shop on 135th Street. The barber, old man named Solomon, been cutting hair in Harlem since before the neighborhood had a name. He's running clippers over some customer's head, acting like he don't notice Bumpy working. But Bumpy ain't reading newspapers. He's got a blueprint of the Cotton Club spread across a card table, every entrance marked, every exit highlighted, every site line calculated. "You planning a robbery or a funeral?" Solomon asks, not looking up from his work. "Neither," Bumpy says. "I'm planning a lesson." Here's what most people don't understand about Bumpy Johnson. They see the muscle, the reputation, the violence when necessary, and they think that's all he is. But Bumpy grew up during the Harlem Renaissance. He ain't just some street thug. This man reads Shakespeare, studies military history, got half the art of war memorized from a book. He stole from the public library when he was 16. Sun Tzu said it best, all warfare is based on deception. Bumpy knows Dutch is coming. Knows Ray told him about the Cotton Club, knows that Dutch Schultz, arrogant as he is powerful, is going to send his best killers to end this thing quick and violent. So Bumpy don't run, don't hide, don't even change the plan. He shows up exactly where he said he'd be, but he changes everything else. First move, he talks to the Cotton Club. Owners? These are businessmen. They don't want gangster blood on their floors, don't want police asking questions, don't want trouble. Bumpy makes them an offer they can't refuse, $5,000 cash. In exchange, they let him borrow the basement for a few hours, and they make sure the lights in that basement are on a switch that's easy to access. The owners take the money. They ain't stupid. They know Bumpy protects Harlem, and Dutch Schultz would bleed it dry. Second move, Bumpy talks to his people, not the fighters, the watchers. Every corner boy, every numbers runner, every street kid who's ever shined shoes for a nickel. He spreads word that something big is going down at the Cotton Club. Says anyone who sees unfamiliar white faces heading toward the basement should take note, should watch the exits, should be ready. He ain't building an army, he's building a net. Third move, and this is the crucial one. Bumpy empties his revolver, takes out every bullet except one. Then he puts that gun in his shoulder holster where Dutch's killers will expect it, and he straps a second gun, a little .38 snub-nose, to his ankle where they won't look. Because Bumpy knows something about killers, especially Dutch's killers. They're cocky, they've done this 100 times. They see a man with one gun, they relax just a fraction of a second, thinking they got him counted. They don't search past the obvious. Why would they? They got 12 guns, pointed at one chest. The fight's already over before it starts, except it ain't. Fourth move, Bumpy studies that basement like it's holy scripture, walks it at midnight 3 nights in a row, counts his steps from the door to every wall, memorizes where the support beams are, figures out exactly where the light switch is positioned, 7 steps from the doorway, chest height, left side. He practices in the dark, times himself, 3 seconds from standing position to hitting that bulb, another 2 seconds to drop and roll behind the support beam, 5 seconds total before Dutch's men can even process what happened. Sun Tzu again. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Bumpy knows Dutch's killer's gonna crowd around him in a circle, knows they're gonna want to savor it. This big moment, taking down the King of Harlem, knows they're gonna talk, threaten, make him sweat before they pull those triggers. That's how men like Tommy the Executioner operate. It ain't enough to kill. They gotta dominate first. That's gonna be their mistake. Because while they're talking, Bumpy's counting steps, counting heartbeats, counting the exact amount of time between lightning and thunder. February 14th, 8 p.m., Bumpy walks into the Cotton Club like he owns it, because in Harlem he does. He nods to the band leader. Fletcher Henderson's orchestra's playing tonight, absolutely killing it on Somebody Loves Me. The crowd's alive, dancing, drinking bootleg gin out of teacups. Bumpy moves through them like smoke, heading toward the basement door. Outside, Dutch's men are converging. Tommy, the Executioner, Mackenzie leading the way, 11 more behind him. They got Tommy guns under their coats, 45s in their belts, knives in their boots. They move through Harlem like they own it, but the neighborhood's watching. Every window, every doorway, every alley. People see them coming. Don't do nothing. Just watch. Wait. Bumpy reaches the basement door, puts his hand on the knob. Behind him he hears the music swelling, Ethel Waters' voice cutting through the smoke. Ain't nobody's business if I do. He smiles, opens the door, walks down into the darkness. The trap is set, the stage is prepared, and Dutch Schultz's best killers are about to learn why you don't come to Harlem unless Harlem invites you. Is Bumpy a hero for protecting his own, or just a smarter criminal? Subscribe for more untold legends from the shadows of history. The basement smells like old wood and spilled liquor. Bumpy's footsteps echo on concrete as he walks toward the center of the room. Behind him, the door closes with a heavy thud. The lock clicks. He don't turn around, don't need to. He can hear them breathing, 12 men trying to stay quiet, failing. Can smell the gun oil, the sweat, the cheap cologne Tommy the executioner always wears. Can feel their eyes on his back, hungry and confident. The single light bulb swings overhead, casting shadows that dance across the walls. Bumpy stops right beneath it, centers himself, hands loose at his sides. "Bumpy Johnson," Tommy says from behind him, voice smooth as butter, cold as December. Dutch sends his regards. Now Bumpy turns, slow, controlled, takes in the whole picture. 12 men in a semicircle, weapons drawn, blocking the only exit. Tommy front and center, smiling like Christmas came early. Behind him, Ray Ray's standing in the back, looking like he's going to be sick. So Ray Ray's here, brought along to watch, to be marked as the man who sold out the King of Harlem. That's Dutch's style. Make the traitor complicit, make him carry the guilt forever. Bumpy's eyes lock on Ray Ray for just a second. Ray Ray can't hold the gaze, looks away, and in that moment, Bumpy knows everything he needs to know about weakness. 12, Bumpy says, voice calm as a Sunday sermon. He looks back at Tommy. Dutch really thinks 12 is enough? Tommy's smile widens. That's cute. You gonna try to talk your way out? Nah. Bumpy shifts his weight just slightly, 7 steps to the light. Just wondering if Dutch can afford to lose 12 good men in one night. Tommy laughs, real laughter. Behind him a few other killers chuckle too. They got this. They always got this. Bumpy's just another body, another message, another story to tell at bars. Any last words? Tommy asks, raising his Tommy gun. 11 other weapons lift with it, all pointed at Bumpy's chest. Make 'em count. Bumpy nods. Like he's considering, like he's accepting his fate. Then he explodes into motion. Not toward Tommy, not toward the guns, toward the light. 7 steps covered in 3 seconds. His fist connects with the bulb, glass shattering, filament dying with a pop like a firecracker. The basement plunges into absolute darkness. "Light!" Tommy screams. "Get the F!" Bang! First shot comes from Tommy's gun, aimed at where Bumpy was standing. But Bumpy ain't there no more. He's already dropped, rolled left, pressed against the support beam. 15 years of moving through Harlem alleys at night taught him how to see without seeing. Bang, bang, bang. More shots, wild, panicked, men shooting at ghosts. In the chaos, someone's firing at the sound of footsteps, except those footsteps belong to his own partner. "Stop shooting!" Tommy roars. "You're hitting each other!" But panics. Infectious. In the pitch black, these 12 trained killers suddenly ain't trained no more. They're scared children shooting at shadows. Bumpy moves through them like water. He knows every inch of this room, knows where they're standing by the sound of their breathing. He's got his ankle gun out now, counting shots in his head. Don't waste bullets. Make each one count. He fires once. A scream. 1 man down. Fires twice. Another scream. 2 down. But he ain't just shooting. He's creating chaos, pushing 1 man into another, grabbing a gun barrel and twisting it toward its owner, using their own fear against them. A killer swings his Tommy gun like a club, hits his own partner in the jaw. Bones crack, body drops. Tommy's shouting orders nobody can follow. Form up, back to back. But you can't form up when you can't see. Can't trust your partner when every sound might be the enemy. Can't think straight when the man you came to kill is turning your own team into a firing squad. Bumpy kicks one man's legs out. The man falls backward, crashes into someone else. They both go down in a tangle of limbs and weapons. "Where is he?" someone screams. "Everywhere!" another voice answers. 3 minutes. That's all it takes. 3 minutes of pure psychological warfare, of fear and darkness and confusion, doing what bullets alone never could. Bumpy don't kill them all. Don't need to. Half of them knock each other out. Quarter of them waste their ammunition shooting walls. The rest, they freeze up, too scared to move, waiting for death that comes from angles they can't predict. When the emergency lights finally kick on, dull red bulbs that barely cut the darkness, the scene is biblical. Bodies everywhere. Tommy the executioner, Mackenzie unconscious against the wall, blood streaming from his head where his own man's gun struck him. Ray on his knees, hands over his head, crying. 11 men down. 11 of Dutch Schultz's best. And Bumpy, standing in the center of it all, breathing hard, but standing. 1 bullet left in his gun. Not a scratch on him. The only man still fully conscious besides Bumpy is Marty Icepick Delaney, pressed against the wall, weapon dropped, hands raised in surrender. "Please," Marty whispers, "please, man, I got kids." Bumpy walks over slow, reaches into his jacket. Marty flinches, expecting death. Instead, Bumpy pulls out a playing card, the ace of spades. He kneels down, drags it through a pool of blood on the concrete, then holds it up to Marty's face. "You tell Dutch Schultz," Bumpy says, voice soft but carrying the weight of an empire, "that Harlem ain't for sale. You tell him that if he sends more men, send more cards. I'm building a collection." He presses the bloody card into Marty's shaking hands. "Now get out." Marty don't wait for a second invitation. He scrambles up, stumbles over bodies, runs for the door. Bumpy unlocks it for him, watches him disappear up the stairs. Hears him burst out into the club, into the music and light and normal world where men don't do the impossible. Bumpy turns back to the carnage. Ray's still on his knees, still crying. "Bumpy, I'm sorry, I didn't—" "I know," Bumpy says, and the sadness in his voice is worse than any anger could be. "I know, Ray, $10,000, your daughter's future, I understand. So you gonna—" Bumpy shakes his head. "No, you gonna live with it. Every day, you gonna see her face and know what you sold to buy her comfort." He walks past Ray, heading for the stairs. "That's a worse punishment than any bullet." He pauses at the door, looks back one last time. "Get out of Harlem, Ray. You ain't welcome here no more." Upstairs, Fletcher Henderson's orchestra is playing "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing." The crowd's dancing, laughing, living. They got no idea that 12 men just tried to kill the King of Harlem. And one man turned the basement into a war zone using nothing but darkness and strategy. Bumpy emerges from the basement, straightens his tie, smooths his jacket. Someone hands him a whiskey. He drinks it slow, savoring. Around him, Harlem keeps spinning, keeps living, keeps being free, because that's what this was really about. Not revenge, not power, freedom. The freedom to keep what's yours, to protect your people, to tell empires that some places can't be bought, can't be intimidated, can't be conquered. If this level of strategy gave you chills, hit that like button right now, because this ain't even the wildest part. 3 days later, Dutch Schultz sits in his Bronx office staring at the ace of spades. It's still got blood on it. Dried now, brown at the edges, could be Bumpy's blood, could be his men's. Hard to tell. Don't really matter. What matters is that Marty Icepick Delaney walked into this office 48 hours ago, shaking like he had the DTs, and told Dutch Schultz something impossible. Told him about the darkness, the chaos, the 3 minutes of hell. Told him how Tommy, the executioner Mackenzie, the man who never missed, never failed, got dropped by his own partner's wild shot. told him how 11 of Dutch's best killers came back on stretchers, broken and humiliated, and told him about Bumpy Johnson standing in the center of it all, calm as Sunday morning, holding this card. "Harlem ain't for sale," Marty had whispered, barely able to get the words out. He said, if you send more men, send more cards. He's building a collection. Dutch Schultz built his empire on fear, on making examples, on never backing down, never showing weakness. You challenge Dutch, you die. That's the rule, that's how New York works. Except Harlem don't follow New York rules. Dutch crushes the card in his fist, feels the dried blood crack and flake. He could send more men, could send 50, could burn the whole damn neighborhood down if he wanted. But that's the thing about fighting ghosts. You can't kill what you can't catch. And Bumpy Johnson just proved he don't fight like other men. He fights like smoke, like shadow, like something you can't pin down with bullets and brute force. "Boss?" Vincent the Hammer. Cole stands in the doorway, waiting for orders. "We hitting back?" Dutch stares at that ace of spades for a long time, long enough that Vincent starts to sweat. Because in all the years he's worked for Dutch Schultz, he's never seen the boss hesitate, never seen doubt. Finally, Dutch drops the card on his desk. "No," he says quietly. "Tell the boys to stay out of Harlem. St. Clair keeps her numbers. Johnson keeps his crown." Vincent's jaw drops. "But boss, if we don't respond, people gonna think." "I don't care what people think," Dutch snaps. "Some neighborhoods ain't worth the cost. And that one?" He points at the card. "That one's got something we don't. Something money can't buy." "What's that?" Dutch lights a cigar, exhales smoke. "True believers." And just like that, the war's over. Not with an explosion, not with bodies in the street, but with silence. With Dutch Schultz, the most feared gangster in New York, choosing to walk away. Across town in Harlem, Madame Stephanie St. Clair hears the news in her office at the Lenox Lounge. She pours 2 glasses of French cognac, the expensive stuff, the kind you save for victories, and slides one across the desk to Bumpy. "You knew," she says. Not a question. "Knew what?" Bumpy asks, sipping the cognac like it's water. "That they were coming, that Ray sold us out, that you'd be walking into a death trap." Bumpy smiles that small, knowing smile, the one that says he's always 3 moves ahead. The Art of War, Chapter 3. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And if you know there's a traitor in your ranks, then you use him. Bumpy sets his glass down. Ray told Dutch where I'd be, but I chose the battlefield. I controlled the environment. I turned their certainty into my weapon. Madame St. Clair shakes her head, somewhere between amazement and disbelief. One day, that kind of thinking's gonna make you a legend. I ain't interested in legends, Bumpy says, just in keeping Harlem free. But legends don't ask permission. They just happen. What happened next? Hit that like button. Now, because what Bumpy built after this victory changed organized crime forever. Here's what they don't teach you in school. Here's what the history books leave out. That Valentine's Day night in 1933 wasn't just about one man beating 12 killers. It was about something bigger, something that would echo through decades. It was about proving that intelligence beats strength, that strategy beats numbers, that a man who knows his home, knows his people, knows his purpose, that man becomes unstoppable. Dutch Schultz would die 4 years later in 1937, shot by Murder Inc. on orders from Lucky Luciano. He bled out on a bathroom floor in Newark, mumbling incoherent nonsense about betrayal and buried treasure, his empire crumbling before his eyes. But Bumpy Johnson, he'd rule Harlem for another 35 years, became more than a gangster, became a protector, a king. The man who proved you don't need an army when you got a neighborhood that believes in you. And it all started with 12 men, 1 light bulb, and 3 minutes in the dark. See, what Bumpy understood, what most criminals never figure out, is that the best weapon ain't violence, it's psychology. It's making your enemy defeat themselves. Dutch sent 12 killers to prove he was stronger. Bumpy sent 1 survivor back to prove he was smarter. And in the game of empires, smart beats strong every single time. That ace of spades, Dutch Schultz kept it on his desk until the day he died. A reminder of the one battle he couldn't win, the one man he couldn't break, the one neighborhood that stayed free. Years later, a young kid from Harlem would ask Bumpy how he did it, how one man beat 12. Bumpy just smiled and said, "Son, I didn't beat 12 men. I beat 12 egos." There's a difference, because that's the real lesson here. Power ain't about how many guns you got. It's about how you use the one between your ears. It ain't about being feared. It's about being underestimated, then proving everyone wrong in the most devastating way possible. Bumpy Johnson turned a death trap into a throne room, turned darkness into his greatest ally, turned betrayal into strategy. And when the smoke cleared, he didn't just survive. He sent a message that echoed across every borough in New York. Harlem ain't for sale. Never was. Never will be. But here's what's going to keep you up tonight. This story, this legendary tale of one man against 12, it's got layers we haven't even touched yet. Because 10 years after this Valentine's Day massacre, Bumpy Johnson would face something even more dangerous than Dutch Schultz. Something that couldn't be outsmarted with darkness and psychology. Something that would test every lesson he learned in that Cotton Club basement. I'm talking about the day the United States government decided Bumpy Johnson was too powerful to exist. When federal agents, not mob killers, came for the King of Harlem. When the FBI, the Treasury Department, and the NYPD formed a task force with one mission: destroy Bumpy Johnson by any means necessary. And the genius move Bumpy pulled? It makes this Cotton Club story look like child's play. Picture this: Bumpy Johnson standing in federal court, no weapon, no darkness to hide in, facing prosecutors with unlimited resources and a personal vendetta. They had wiretaps, they had witnesses, they had an ironclad case, and Bumpy beat them using nothing but that. Same ace of spades, a brilliant lawyer, and a legal loophole so perfect it's still studied in law schools today. That story drops next week. And trust me, if you thought 12 against 1 was impossible, wait until you see how Bumpy Johnson beat the entire United States government and walked out of that courtroom a free man, while the prosecutors who tried to cage him got reassigned to Alaska. Subscribe and hit that notification bell right now, because the legend of Bumpy Johnson, we've only scratched the surface. Comment below. What hit you harder, the fact that Bumpy let the traitor live, or that he turned 12 killers into their own worst enemy? I read every single comment, and your insights always blow my mind. Until next time, remember this: the most dangerous weapon in any war ain't what you carry in your hand, it's what you carry between your ears. Stay sharp, stay legendary, stay free, and never ever underestimate the man who knows his home better than you know your own name.